AEW pulls Ricky Starks from Indy events. Plus, we have an update on AEW Grand Slam Australia. And WWE Hall of Famers are making NXT appearances next week. It's all in the Cultaholic Wrestling News right now. Absolute Ricky Starks absolutely stole the show at GCW Dream On. And absolutely, it looked like there were big plans ahead. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. He spoke openly about not wanting to be frozen out of AEW and made it clear that he had big plans, as Tom said there, to be part of GCW going forwards. But that does all seem to have been scrapped. GCW put out a statement recently on their social media saying, "We have just been informed that Ricky Starks has been pulled from all upcoming GCW appearances, including his announced match in Los Angeles on the 14th of December, his unannounced match on the 28th of December in Seattle, and his unannounced match on the 19th of January at the Hammerstein Ballroom." So they're just, there's no pretense here. They're going, yeah, we had him planned for these matches as well. And guess what? That's not happening. He's been pulled.
Yeah, all completely gone. Fightful reports the decision to pull Ricky Starks from GCW was made yesterday and then relayed to Ricky Starks. They also report what may have been the cause for Ricky being pulled, saying, "We're told that AEW had taken exception to GCW talent Effie bringing up Shad Khan on a recent podcast in regards to AEW running the Hammerstein Ballroom and Shad effectively paying Tony Khan to stay away. After that, AEW was not interested in having Ricky Starks work GCW. We're told that Ricky Starks is able to work indies outside of GCW, but AEW was not interested in effectively paying Starks to wrestle for GCW. There were some within AEW that suggested that this might be some kind of work shoot type deal, but apparently that is not the case." Did you catch the comments made in question on Weekend at Effie's? Because they were very spicy and they did do the rounds for a bit.
I haven't caught them, no.
So it was Effie, because GCW announced the Hammerstein Ballroom show. They're going back in January. And then shortly after that, AEW announced they're doing a few dates at the Hammerstein as well for Ring of Honor Final Battle. And I believe they're taping Collision at the Hammerstein as well.
And there was a bit of like, but we're doing the Hammerstein Ballroom. Yeah, right.
And there were some comments made about how, you know, GCW is riding this lightning wave at the moment, and they're a company that has to keep going based on their skill rather than, as Effie was saying, running on they can't afford to run on a $40 million deficit, unlike some companies can, and made some comments regarding how, made comments about Shad Khan in the thing as well. And so I kind of see, from the perspective of AEW, when the spicy comments from Effie were made, they've gone, well, we're not going to put our guy on the payroll on your show if we're that bad. I kind of see it from that perspective, but at the same time, this is a gutting blow for GCW, because I was looking forward to seeing Ricky Starks. He was going to work Matt Cardona, and then there were some other big plans afoot, as we could tell, for the show at the Ballroom.
Yeah, if this had happened to like nearly any other AEW wrestler, I'd think, well, I could only probably see one side of it, which would be AEW's side, thinking, well, you can't go around saying stuff like that. But because it's Ricky Starks, that adds a whole new layer to it, because as we know, the whole thing with Ricky Starks over the past year or so has been that he's constantly saying, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm ready to go. I'm not using me. And it does feel a little bit personal now by this stage, doesn't it? And things keep on adding up. And I think Ricky Starks very knowingly is putting, without saying anything explicit, is making it very clear that he's not being used, and it's unfair. Yeah. I think he's got a right to be quite annoyed with Effie here. I think he's got quite a right to be annoyed with his employers here. We don't know all the ins and outs that have gone on with Ricky Starks and AEW creative behind the scenes, but it feels slightly personal at this stage. In this one instance, maybe I can understand why they're like, we're not paying you to work for them when they've just slagged us off, but it's just another roadblock for Ricky Starks.
If it was any other wrestler, like you say, if it was any other wrestler, it would be one situation. But because it's Ricky Starks, who has been absent for so long in this year, and there's been so many question marks about his status in the company, just when it looks like he's getting something outside of the company to get his ball rolling again, it's completely scrapped.
Yes.
It's frustrating to no end. Do check out Weekend at Effie's. It's a really good podcast to listen to. Also check out Chris Van Vliet's interview with Ricky Starks as well. It's a really good good deep dive into Ricky in general, and the questions that everyone wants to know are asked of Ricky Starks as well in that chat too. Staying with AEW, an update on Grand Slam Australia, and there was obviously plans to do the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. 50,000 plus is the capacity. Ticket sales haven't been great, and they have finally pulled the trigger on changing the location now.
Yes, the move was made official in an email shared by the ticket provider Ticketek. The new venue has a capacity of just under 14,000. It says here a much more manageable number than the 50,000-seater stadium they were struggling to fill. They'll get grief for this. People will go, "Oh, you couldn't start," but it's a wise decision. It'll look a lot better, surely.
I can literally, as you're saying that, I can't hear you over the sound of people typing AEW in the mud. Lol,
Yeah.
lol, lol.
But I think they've cut their losses here.
Yeah, it's a look. It was going to be a PR disaster either way. If you've got this stadium that you can't fill, you either run an empty stadium which looks bad, or you hedge your bets. You come away from it and run a smaller venue. And you know what? People who don't like AEW, this is going to be fodder for them, regardless. But you do the one that's probably going to affect your bottom line a little bit more, and just sort of suffer the slings and arrows of trolls and such online. It is not a great look. To run it this way. I think it was ambitious to attempt a stadium show in Australia. I saw Shazza McKenzie say something quite interesting online, where she said that the wrestling culture, or the culture of wrestling, isn't as big in Australia as it is in other places.
Right.
You know, we saw WWE run Elimination Chamber Perth in a stadium which they didn't fill for that either. And obviously it's different logistically in getting to Perth and Brisbane and such like that. But either way, there will be a show in Australia. It'll just be a pared back one in terms of size.
I remember on that point there. I remember when this was first announced. I think it was Meltzer and Alvarez discussing whether or not there was a market of this size in Australia, and they didn't know. They were like, "We genuinely don't know. It's kind of untested water for a company of AEW's position," and that looks to have been the case. Maybe a bit of wild optimism there from AEW that they've now tempered, I suppose.
Yes, they certainly have. Let's talk NXT from last night. We had a return last night on NXT.
We certainly did, and it's none other than former Toxic Attraction member Gigi Dolan, who made her return to help Tatum Paxley fight off Fatal Influence. Now, a member of Fatal Influence is former Toxic Attraction member JCJ, and all this history following the NXT Women's North American title match. This is the first time we've seen Gigi in a while, having suffered a torn ACL, which was right in the middle of that weird storyline where Ariana Grace was trying to make her a proper lady.
Yes.
And then they kind of went, "Oh, she's gone now." And they just sort of dropped it.
They just sort of binned it off completely.
But she made her in-ring return at an NXT house show last Friday. This appearance last night marks her return to TV and sets up a feud between the former stablemates going forwards, it seems.
Yeah, it seems so. Also last night on NXT, the great NXT GM Ava made some big plans for Deadline. We're going to have a tag team battle royal next week. The winners of that will face Fraxium for the NXT tag team titles at Deadline. This means that Nathan Fraser is doing double duty at Deadline.
Yeah, I like this a lot because this is very much where the Fraxiom storyline has been going. Every title defense, it seems like they're going to fall apart, and you think this is the one that they're going to turn on each other or something's going to happen, and they always pull it out the bag somehow. But now that he's pulling double duty, this is where all these chickens, what's that sound? They're all coming home to roost. They're all Phoenix splashing into the nest.
The chickens are Phoenix splashing to roost.
Not the nest, the coop. I should have. But yeah, everything's going to come to a head, and whatever happens, I think they can tell a compelling storyline here. Sometimes NXT gets it right. You know, we laugh at them a lot and everything, but sometimes I've just watched the Andre Chase vignette. He's packing up. Speaking of brilliant storylines in NXT,
of course,
he's packing up the classroom, putting all his things in a box. He's just wearing a white shirt. It looks weird because he's not wearing his red, and he puts it all in a box and looks really sad. He's looking around the empty classroom, and he leaves and walks slowly down the corridor, and then he hears a noise and goes, and there's a look of recognition, and then it cuts. And I turned to Fraser and I went, "What's that? What's going on?" And now I can't wait to find out what else happens.
Is this a hope for Chase U?
Is this a glimmer of hope? We'll literally might never know. if they just forget to follow up on it, which could happen, but this feels like something big. And I'm excited.
Oh, speaking of big, next week, 2 WWE Hall of Famers will be in presence at the NXT shed. Revealed last night that x-pac, Sean Waltman, is popping by NXT. He put out a tweet saying that next week's show looks so good, he's going to fly in to see it live in Orlando.
I hope he doesn't get involved or anything.
Surely not.
And that's where I thought our notes ended for this video until, again, Fraser showed me a clip of NXT and I went, who's that? And it was Eric Bischoff, who also appeared on the Tron on last night's show, to announce that next week he'll mediate a face-to-face between Trick Williams, the NXT champion, and his next challenger, Ridge Holland.
I love this. So you had Trick and Ridge having a little bit of a back and forth, and then Eric Bischoff just appears on the screen to go, hey, you two, let's do this next week where I'll mediate. I like the idea that Eric Bischoff is just omnipresent, just always watching. He goes, and I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah.
Hey, you two.
It looked very Zoom call.
It was very much like a Zoom call.
I would like is it on? I'm like, can you hear me?
Starts talking over them.
No, Grandad, you've got to press mute.
You could just see his forehead. So Eric Bischoff.
I hate these bloody things.
What's wrong with a good old phone? So Eric Bischoff next week, for reasons, is mediating Trick Williams and Ridge Holland. Why not?
He's going to bring 2 cans attached by string. Use these and talk.
I'll tell you what all their kids do these days. It's that their Twitch. Are you twitching tonight?
I am twitching tonight, I believe, with Owen Mawson, twitch.tv/Cultaholic at 6 p.m. The Birmingham Swans are doing all right. We're doing all right. I think we're teetering on the brink of relegation, but that's an upgrade from where we were, which was in the relegation zone. So we might be moving in the right direction. We'll have to find out.
Find out tonight, twitch.tv/Cultaholic, 6 p.m. GMT. Plus, it's Survivor Series week, so you'll have live reactions with Adam and Andrew on Saturday. You'll have predictions as well on Thursday. And today, it is 9 pitches. It's what we want to happen.
Tis. Also, my weirdest episodes is up. Thank you to Luke for the edit on that one. It covers a Survivor Series of the past.
And what a Survivor Series of the past as well.
Yes, what a Survivor Series it is.
And for the latest wrestling news at any time, you can check out cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.